My name is Jane Boroski. In 1988, when I was just 22 years old, I was attacked and stabbed 27 times and left for dead. I am a survivor. In the 1970s and 80s, women's bodies started to surface in the Connecticut River Valley between New Hampshire and Vermont. Is my case related to these cases? This is unknown. Why? Because all the cases still remain unsolved. Are all the cases related in the work of one serial killer? We don't know that either. But law enforcement did form a task force in the 80s to investigate all of them. I've joined forces with my co-host Amanda and Drew. Together, we are a voice for the voiceless. We advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves while remaining factual and engaging with empathy. The Invisible Tears team is transparent and opinionated, never claiming to be anything we are not. We aren't law enforcement, we aren't private investigators or journalists. We are victim advocates who care and want to help families.
So make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any episodes. You can find us on all platforms through our link tree in the show notes. There you can find our social media platforms, our YouTube, and our website with our merch. You can also find our Patreon there. So if you're interested in supporting and joining the Invisible Tears team, join our Patreon today. And as always, ratings and recommendations help our podcast in algorithms. So if you haven't shown us some love and given us a 5-star rating and review, please do so. We appreciate each and every one of you and your continued support.
Welcome to Invisible Tears. I'm here with my co-host, Amanda. Oh, by the way, I'm Jane. I guess I forget to announce myself sometimes.
It happens.
I assume people know my voice and know who I am, but yes, I'm Jane, and this is Invisible Tears, and I'm here with my co-host, Amanda. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Jane. How's it going?
Oh, it's going. It's
Good.
going. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're on today to clarify some information. I thought this information was already out there, and we clarified it. This is about this, not my composite that I did, but the composite that was made in the Lynda Moore's case.
Yeah.
That composite still floats around. It's still out there. People are still thinking that he's a suspect in Lynda's case. And so we're coming on today to clarify a few things. So we had John Philpin on in season 1. He was one of our earliest episodes. And we got to talk about the composite a little bit in the Lynda Moore's case. And John told us that that person had been identified, positively identified. He was in the service. He was out on leave. And he was simply seen in the vicinity of Lynda Moore's house jogging.
Yes.
They had several people come forward saying that he was in the vicinity. They did a composite. They made a composite up. And the authorities found out who it was. And they questioned him. Now, they didn't question him as a suspect or person of interest. They simply wanted to know if he had seen any vehicles or anybody around the Lynda Moore's house the day that she was murdered.
Yes.
That's all they were simply doing, is questioning him on, what he may have seen. And ultimately, he had not seen anything. He didn't see anything out of the ordinary. So he was questioned and let go. He was identified, questioned, and went on his way. But that composite is still out there, and people assume he's a suspect or a person of interest. And that is just not so.
Right. Oh, and I see a lot of people consistently compare that picture to the composite that you did, Jane,
Yeah.
as well. A lot of people put them side by side. And so this is great clarifying information to put out there. I had an inkling that based off of whatever detail that was in the remaining chapters that were published and put out there on Dark Valley, that there was something about this in there. So I took one for the team and I listened to chapters 13 through 18. I know. I regrettably gave them a download per episode. But I thought it was really important information because of the comments and because of the information and you know what people are saying to us now. I thought it was important for somebody, a member on the team, to know what is happening and what was put out there. So in the last episode, chapter 18, that's out there, this composite was mentioned, but I think what people are getting confused about is they're grasping onto this and thinking that it is like that LA suspect that she brought up that we won't
Yeah.
name because he's not a suspect from law enforcement perspective, only hers. I think people are getting confused that that's him. That is not the case. If you go back and re-listen to this episode, it is clear as day put out there that this sketch exists because this person was wanted for questioning about what he saw that day. And it's even verified in that episode that Philpin verified to her that he was found and identified. The identity of him was never released publicly, right?
No.
Why would it be? So it was never published in articles. He was fully questioned
Yes.
on the information that he knew, what he did know, what he didn't know. And he was actually completely excluded from any sort of person of interest or suspect pool. And so that jives with the information that we even knew and we even got from Philpin 3 years ago, right? So just to clarify, guys.
Amanda will put the picture up that we're talking about.
Yep. So I know that there's a lot of information flying around in that episode. So I get it. So I understand why people maybe didn't hear that sentence, but that sentence was in there. That sentence does clarify, and that sentence does actually reiterate exactly what we're saying. So if you ever see anybody throwing that thing around as like a suspect or a person of interest or anything like that, that is fake news. If you go back to original source documents too, I'm sure that when that information first came to the police, right, and they didn't know who it was and they wanted to find him to question him, I'm sure that it was worded in original news media as, we're looking for him to question him about his knowledge because he was, running by her house that day. He was seen in the vicinity. So we're just looking for him to question him. I'm sure that many people took that as, oh, that's a person that did it. Oh, that's a suspect. Oh, that's a person of interest. But that is not true.
And I don't understand why the news, all the articles that have been done, which you know how many articles that have been done on the Connecticut River Valley cases and Lynda Moore's case, why they don't put in the articles, this person has been identified and been questioned and been cleared. He's not a suspect, not a person of interest. But news media doesn't put that out there. And his picture still floats around on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so bad for this guy. Like, he's every time he opens his computer, he's got to see his picture somewhere. Yeah. His composite, the composite of him. And I feel so bad for him because the news media still puts that picture out there and they just don't explain the whole situation with that composite.
Yep.
That composite means absolutely nothing.
Yep.
Nothing. And it should be taken down or it should be clarified. And that's why we're doing it. We're clarifying.
Yes.
It's irritating how one little thing is never followed up and explained.
Yeah.
Especially with news media. They'll jump on a story that's hot and heavy, but they never revisit it to say, okay, this information was put out, but this information is cleared and it doesn't mean anything. And,
Right.
and that's the same with this. It's been over 40 years. 40 years. And this poor guy has to see his composite online all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, take the freaking thing down. Take it down. Get rid of it. Burn it. Jeez. So yes, that composite, people still ask, has he been identified? Yes, he's been identified.
We don't know who it is, though. Great.
No.
Yep.
Which I'm really glad that law enforcement has never put his name out there. You know, of who he is, where he lived, where he's from. But all they've said is all that John Philbin had told us is that he was in the service, he was out on leave, and he was simply on a jog.
Yeah.
That one morning is like, I imagine impacted his life quite a bit, especially seeing his composite all over the place.
I know. And like I was telling you, Jane, it's always created so much confusion. And I know that we've always tried to clarify this with everybody. We've done other snippets and videos on social media and stuff like that, attempting and trying to clarify. You just did a post recently. It actually angered someone. I saw that. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But we consistently will see it too. People will actually put the pictures side by side, and it's like, no. Please don't do that. Please don't do that.
Two different people.
Yep.
Two totally different people. Guarantee it. Two different people.
Because a lot of people will actually kind of say that, be like, oh, well, the sketches don't look alike, or the sketches don't, or try to compare and contrast. And it's like, well, because it's two different people. One of them is the person that attacked Jane, that she gave them her best, she did her best with blinking while intubated, right? And the other one is just a dude that was jogging by Lynda Moore's house that needed to be questioned to see what he saw. Like, so the reason they don't look alike is because they're not the same person.
Exactly.
So clarifying episode. There we go.
So let's move on a little bit.
Okay.
I still have not heard the second half of Dark Valley. I refuse to. I won't.
Yep.
Amanda, how do we want to word this?
I took one for the team.
She took one for the team. And she listened. It was really important that we pretty much knew what was on there, what she had recorded on her second half. I did not know anything about what she was intending on putting in her second half of Dark Valley. So, Amanda.
Yes.
What did you come up with?
Well, that's such a loaded question. We're going to have to narrow that down.
Well, for one, I've read online on several platforms that people want to know, obviously, well, if it's LA, why isn't Jane identifying him?
Right.
And a lot of people are bringing that up. And it's like, I'm not identifying him for one, because I haven't seen a photo of him. And I don't want to see a photo of him until the police bring me a photo lineup and say, look at the photo lineup.
Right.
That being said, when LA came about, I know exactly where I was. I was sitting in a parking lot in Hannaford's in Brattleboro, Vermont, and Jen called me, and she said to me that she had information and she wanted to know if she could record it for the podcast, record my reaction. I agreed. So when she was telling me about LA, it was about a 20 minute, maybe even a half-hour conversation. Now, you listen to the recording, and she cut out a lot. She obviously edited a lot of our conversation. I remember one saying, first and foremost, I asked her to bring it to law enforcement, her information. Um, I believe I told her that I wanted to look at this information. I want to think about this information with an open mind
Yep.
because there have been other suspects that have been brought to my attention and uh, ultimately been cleared. So unless law enforcement isn't investigating them,
Mhm.
um, I always look at any suspect or person of interest with an open mind.
Mhm.
And that's how I took her information is I took it with an open mind.
Mhm.
Um, not going to come to conclusions. I'm not going to say it's him. I'm not going to say it's not him. I was not going to come to conclusions because I felt it was important for law enforcement to investigate him first.
Mhm.
Obviously, he's no longer alive.
Mhm.
Um, but I just felt like I wasn't going to be dragged into the whole narrative of, oh my God, this could possibly be him.
Mhm.
Um, I know I did. I mean, this information came to me like, woof.
Yeah, of
I didn't
course.
expect it. I didn't expect this information. And most of my reaction was towards the whole Lynda Moore case.
Yep.
I really felt like, okay, wow, this is really interesting. Why didn't they investigate this case more
Mhm.
on the Lynda Moore's case?
Yep. Yep.
Um, I guess that's where my frustration was because yeah, he sounds real credible in the Lynda Moore's case.
Mhm.
Um, so with that being said, Amanda
So
listened to the podcast.
yes, I did. So I'm glad that you knew that you were being recorded. It just stinks that the context that you just explained wasn't explained any further. Right. So the whole reiteration of, we need to keep an open mind and you need to bring all this information to, law enforcement, and you asking within that conversation for the name to not actually be put out there until he's fully investigated, and don't actually publicly put this information out there, because I believe the whole purpose of the recording of you was to get your initial raw reaction with all of the like circumstantial facts that she had. And she ended up capturing it. I mean, you guys let us know if you think that what was captured, and if you've listened to that episode, what was captured and put in there is any different, other than it sounds like Jane is reacting very, emotionally, and is agreeing with Jen. And it's a different, it's like it was taken out of context, I guess, is what I just want to, reiterate. Obviously, she's hearing all these facts for the first time and she's like, oh my God, direct quote, 1,000 things are going through my head. Like if it was him and they got to him with like the Lynda, if they had done their job with Lynda, my attack would never have happened. She also reacted to, where he originally lived, right? Only a half a mile from Gamarlos. And you're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, so there is definitely a very raw and emotional reaction. You go into saying different stuff like, I really want to trust the police, but it pisses me off that they don't do their job and they don't investigate. So it stinks that the rest of the context of the conversation wasn't reiterated and wasn't put in there. I guess that's the best way that I can summarize it, because people just listening to that raw would most likely think that you agree with her presentation. And I do have to state that at the end of chapter 17, beginning of 18, she reiterates and says multiple times, this is the best suspect yet as the Connecticut River Valley killer. She actually puts that in the episodes.
Now, if he was a suspect, law enforcement would be 100% investigating him as a suspect. To me,
yes,
he's more of a possible person of interest. Now, person of interest is very different from a suspect. A
yeah,
person of interest is someone that you question and you investigate a little bit, but once they turn to a suspect, you actually have credible information to think that he is the one that committed that crime.
Mhm.
So there is a difference between person of interest and suspect. When I heard the information that she was telling me that day, I never really thought of him as a suspect. I
Mhm.
thought of him as a very credible person of interest.
Mhm.
Now, you also shared with me that she actually interviewed both the sons.
Yes, she did. So no wonder
She
Jane
got
gets people coming up to her. And once it aired, like, "Oh, no, they know you. Oh, no, he knows you. Oh, no, he knows you." Like, no wonder. Yeah, those interviews
Jen
were in chapter 18.
Jen never told me she interviewed them. She never told me that she talked to them. I'm just hearing this a few minutes ago from Amanda,
Yeah.
and I am really trying to process this. I wish, so many things with Jen. I wish she had told me. That would have been the most decent thing she could have done. I'm glad I didn't hear that, listen to that podcast, the second half of the podcast,
Mhm.
because had I heard her interviewing those two sons and talking about me and my attack, I think I would have lost my shit.
Yeah.
I'm still really upset. I'm really, really upset that she literally interviewed them about my case.
Well, let me just clarify, though. Let me just clarify. The initial purpose of you could tell this, the initial purpose of the interviews with the sons was in regards to the Lynda Moore case, right?
Mhm.
Because his business card was found on her counter. There was the question about the timing of when he was actually at the house and that sort of thing. So that was the initial, right? But I can verify that at least with the youngest son, the one that's the junior, your case did come up. So the purpose of the interview wasn't necessarily about you, but
And I
you
get that.
absolutely came up in conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, see, that's what upsets me is
Yeah.
I
We hate to do this to you, but we have to break for our sponsors. Thanks for hanging in there. Now back to the episode.
I was brought up in conversation after talking about Lynda Moore's.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, mention that. I don't know. I don't know. You don't realize how much something like this has impacted my life.
Mm-hmm.
And people really don't. Obviously, Jen did not realize how much this would impact my life.
Or she
Um,
didn't care.
or she didn't care. Yeah. Or she didn't care. Because I mean, like we've talked about before, I had people come up to me and say, LA Junior, you know LA Junior. And I'm like, no, I don't. And they're like, well, he knows you. Um, Now I know how he knows me, pretty much, and knew about this whole Dark Valley podcast because he was on it.
Yep.
And so that answers a few questions that
Yeah.
I had. And I'm sorry if I sound rude, but I hate when people go on our Facebook page, Invisible Tears, and talk about Dark Valley.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. We are Invisible Tears, not Dark Valley. Yes, I was on Dark Valley. Yes, I did some interviews with Jen on Dark Valley, but we are Invisible Tears. I'm not totally thrilled about some of the stuff that Jen put out there. I think there's a lot of accusations, a lot of finger pointing, and no real investigative work. Just a lot of assumptions. Somebody made a comment about her discovery of LA. It was like, it wasn't a discovery. Like, what? I'm sure he was in, and now we find out that he was investigated years ago.
Yeah.
Like
It was
over 30 years ago. That's
and
not a discovery. That
yeah.
was like out there.
Yeah, it's because she ended up being able to get, and she wouldn't say how, but she ended up being able to get Lynda Moore's case file.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, that
obviously,
wasn't a discovery. I was already out there.
yeah. I guess one of the best ways, I think, for us to appropriately like summarize like all the information that's come out, and especially in relation to, LA, this, her suspect, that she feels like is the best, I don't know, whatever, in the CRV, cases, is that is her opinion.
Mhm.
And this LA person has not been named as a person of interest or a suspect
Yeah.
in any of the CRV cases from a law enforcement perspective that we are aware of. So,
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, he's already been questioned,
Mhm.
and so I guess there was discrepancy in his lie detector test.
yeah,
Um, but they don't have any more than that on him. I mean,
yeah,
um, although, who knows? Who knows? They've got that new technology, DNA stuff going on in New Hampshire right now.
mhm.
Um, you know, maybe something comes up. I don't know. But right now, he's not he's not a suspect. Like
Right. Yeah.
he's not.
Mhm.
Um and if they investigated him and he was a suspect, you bet your ass law enforcement would do a photo lineup and bring it to me.
Mhm.
Um I have no doubt in my mind they would.
Yeah.
But they haven't.
Mhm.
It's funny. I look back and so many people, so many names have been brought up in these cases. And the people that bring them up are like totally convinced this is the guy. This is, and instead of following the evidence and following true facts, they try to make these suspects fit in
Mhm.
to these cases. Michael Nicolau, which I hate bringing up his name, but I'm gonna. Michael Nicolau is a perfect example. This person tried to fit him into all these cases. And you can't do that.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. She had Michael Nicolau connected to what was it? The Blue Ridge Mountain, the Blue Ridge
Wasn't it the Colonial Parkway?
Colonial Parkway.
Yeah.
Yep. She was convinced that Michael Nicolau was the killer on the Colonial Parkway.
Mhm.
And I have talked to Bill Thomas that does the podcast
Mind over murder.
Mind Over Murder.
Mhm.
And she had contacted him about this suspect of Michael Nicolau. Now, in years later, she's convinced that Michael Nicolau was the one that did those murders. Years later, what did they come up with a few months ago or a year
Um,
ago? They found this real serial killer of
yeah.
some of them. They're
Yeah.
still testing. They're still doing testing, but
Mhm.
they found out who the colonial serial killer was on some of the cases.
Mhm.
She was totally wrong.
Yep. It wasn't.
DNA proved that this serial killer was the one that killed some of those people on the Colonial Parkway.
Yep.
So Michael Nicolau had nothing to do with those cases. They investigated Michael Nicolau thoroughly in New Hampshire. He had nothing to do with these cases. So, people keep bringing up these suspects. The Milton brothers,
Mhm.
they've never proven anything with the Milton brothers, but their names still keep being brought up. I mean, regardless, they're not good people. I've heard rumors, and a lot of people talk about them around the Claremont area. They're not good people, but it doesn't mean that they're killers
Right.
or that they've had anything to do with the CRVs.
Hmm.
I mean, and now she's bringing up LA. Um, I just, it's crazy how so many people bring up so many suspects with nothing to base it on.
So, what's really interesting, and this actually just popped into my head, is, especially in respect to Jen and her work. I don't think that, regardless of how I personally feel about what she's done with it or what she's done to us or you, you can't deny the fact that she is good at digging in. However, someone who is good at doing that really needs to not actually have blinders on and do the process that you're talking about, right? Needs to be open-minded and be unbiased. Remember that her education is in writing. She's a
Yeah.
writer. She's an English major. So it's almost like she's digging in to find fact to be able to create this narrative and this story. And in order to be able to create this beautiful story, the blinders sort of go on. She has to have some sort of direction, I guess you can say, to write that story.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, I would ask people, I know a lot of people have listened to Dark Valley. I did listen to the first half, but I want to ask people to really take in her information with a grain of salt.
Yes.
Realize that a lot of, I mean, yeah, she did a great job investigating. I get that. But she's not law enforcement. And it's up to law enforcement to really find factual evidence
Mhm.
to connect these people to these cases. And so I ask people to listen with an open mind. If you've already listened to Dark Valley, listen with an open mind and know that unless you hear law enforcement say they're a suspect or we're investigating them or they're a person of interest, you got to take everything else and think about it with an open mind and say, okay, she's throwing these, I would say persons of interest or whatever,
Mhm.
but she's calling them suspects. She's
Mhm.
throwing these suspects out there with no factual basis of evidence. So just think about that.
I agree. Yeah. I think that's actually a great way to summarize it too. We understand there's lots of good digging happening, and certainly not going to deny that. Access to certain people and certain databases that not everybody actually has access to as well. But just yes,
She did. I mean, she did a lot of interviews with a lot of people.
yeah,
I know she did on the first episode. She got a lot of people to talk to her.
Mhm.
That's skill.
Yep.
And, I don't want people to think that we're jealous of Dark Valley.
Mhm.
I have my own grievances with Dark Valley and with Jen,
Mhm.
which I've already talked about, and I'm not going to go into it again. We just want to clarify things because I have people come up to me.
Mhm.
Her podcast has literally personally affected my life in real life. Outside the podcast world, I guess I'll call it. Um, it has literally affected my life. And that's why I want to clarify a lot of things that Jen did and said. Especially like my conversation with her that day she called me when I was in the Hannaford's parking lot.
Mhm.
It's like there was way more conversation than that.
Mhm.
And I mean, I asked her not to really put that out there yet until she talked to law enforcement
Mhm.
and found out if law enforcement was investigating this, had it been investigated. We talked a long time about everything. I know I definitely told her that while I am processing all this information, when you got information like that coming to you or coming at you,
Mhm.
you're gonna respond.
Of course.
I was angry because I felt like at the time they weren't investigating him, which in reality, who knows? She don't know, I don't know. Nobody knows how much they actually did investigate him.
Mhm.
So without her giving me that information, yeah, I reacted to it. I
Mhm.
reacted and assumed that they had not investigated him yet.
Right.
LA.
Yeah.
So of course I'm gonna react like that.
Mhm.
But do I feel that he's a person of interest or a suspect? I don't know. I have questions about the Lynda Moore case, him being connected to that, but that's not for me to say.
Mhm.
That's up to law enforcement to do their job and to investigate. And obviously, I mean, obviously he's passed away now, and Lynda Moore's case is still an open cold case and still unsolved. So obviously, they had not had enough information to charge him.
Mhm.
Um, they've never put in the papers that he was a suspect. I don't ever remember seeing his name in the papers at all, because the day that Jen mentioned that his name to me, I had never heard his name before,
Right.
ever,
Yeah.
ever. First time ever. I've never heard his name before.
Yeah.
So obviously it hadn't been in the papers. Obviously his name has never been brought up to me through law enforcement. The way she edited it, I guess, made it sound like I felt like he had something to do with at least the Lynda Moore's case. That's how she edited it. Um, to me, I leave it up to law enforcement now.
Mhm.
I leave it up to them to do their jobs. Now let me clarify this. I make sure they do their jobs.
Mhm.
We are pushing through the coalition to make sure that they are doing their jobs, because you don't always know that they're investigating a case. So we're always doing our rallies and our gatherings and trying to make change in the cold case unit. So I'm just trying to leave it up to law enforcement to do their jobs. I mean, I guess I did say something about trusting them. I do have a lot of mistrust with the law enforcement. Not that they're corrupt in any way. My mistrust is, are they actually doing their jobs? Are they actually looking at evidence? Are they actually investigating these cold cases? That's my mistrust with law enforcement,
Mm.
not corruption or anything like that.
Yeah.
To clarify, I feel like I have to clarify everything now.
I know.
And I think it's because of Dark Valley. I
Yeah.
like I have to clarify everything because people just, I don't know, they assume so much stuff.
Yeah. I know. And it stinks because it's certainly not because it's not a podcast that you put out, and with everything being recorded when talking with her, I mean, it's the whole leaving out pieces of conversation and making things sound as if they're possibly something that they're not. So it
Yeah.
stinks. Again,
Yeah.
that kind of just goes to like ethics, you know.
Yeah. She leaves everything to mystery.
Mhm.
It's like,
That's
really?
part of being a storyteller, apparently.
But isn't Dark Valley true crime? What
Yeah.
is true crime? True crime is true crime. You're
Fact.
telling an actual factual story about a crime that actually happened.
Mhm.
That is true crime, isn't it? Or is it not?
Yes, it
Maybe
is.
I'm misunderstanding something.
No, it's right in the name. True.
True. True crime. That's why we always try to be factual. And we always try to of course, be victim focused and tell a story with compassion and facts. And if we don't have the facts or if we doubt facts, we don't put it out there. And we very much do not throw out names without actual evidence and facts.
Yeah.
We will never do that. We won't do that. I would never do that to another victim or a victim's family. I don't know, Amanda. I don't know.
I don't know either, Jane.
I guess we'll just have to keep revisiting and defending what Dark Valley put out there.
Or defending against it.
Yeah. Or explaining misinformation. I don't know. I don't know how to put it. It's like we have to keep explaining stuff that she put out there.
Yeah, I guess it's because we don't have any sort of creative say or sign off on what was put out there, any pieces and parts that directly affect, right, these cases and affect Jane and her day-to-day life and all these sorts of things, because it has real, actual impact on her and her life. Yeah, we're just going to have to keep on clarifying whenever anything comes up, because again, it's not our podcast. We don't have any sort of creative control over what actually goes out and how anything gets spun.
Exactly. Very well said.
Thanks.
So let's clarify. 1, my composite should be the only one out there, not the other one that's connected to Lynda Moore. That person has been questioned. And the only reason why he was questioned was to see if he had any information or saw or heard anything the day he was out jogging by Lynda Moore's house. And 2, LA is not a person of interest and is not a suspect in the eyes of law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, that we know of. That we know of, right? Anybody can sit there and be like, yeah, this is a person of interest, this is a suspect, this is that. But like Jane's has so eloquently multiple times pointed out, unless it's law enforcement doing it.
Yeah, exactly. So with that being said, thank you for listening to Invisible Tears. Please share, follow, subscribe, and don't forget to check out our Patreon. And we thank everyone for listening. Have a good one.
Thank you all for listening to this episode of Invisible Tears. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. You can find us on all platforms through our link tree in the show notes. There you can find our social media platforms, our YouTube, and our website with our merch. You can also find our Patreon there. So if you're interested in supporting and joining the Invisible Tears team, join our Patreon today. And as always, ratings and recommendations help our podcast in algorithms. So if you haven't shown us some love and given us a 5-star rating and review, please do so. We appreciate each and every one of you and your continued support.